Hello and welcome back to Art with Mrs. Smith. Did you notice that music that was just playing? I wonder if you know what instrument that might have been. That's right, it was a didgeridoo or a yidaki, and that's because we're doing something extra special today. But before we begin, I'm going to do a little acknowledgement of country, which is just a small gesture of respect for our first Australians. So I'm going to read this out and you can have a little listen. I would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land in which I stand, the Wiradjuri people. I would also like to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging of the Wiradjuri nation and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians who may be watching this video. Okay. Now, last week I met a remarkable lady by the name of Auntie Mary. Auntie Mary is an elder of the Wiradjuri people, and I was so fortunate to listen to some of her stories and gain some of her knowledge, and I just thank her so much for passing on all that information to me, and I thought I might pass that on to you. So while I'm telling you a little bit about the first Australians, I think we could have a little look at some traditional Aboriginal artwork. Australia has the oldest and most rich cultures in the world. Our Indigenous people have lived on this continent for over 60,000 years. Aboriginal culture did not have a written language. Instead, their stories and laws were passed on in the form of song, dance, and drawings. Many drawings occurred in the sand or dirt, caves, rock faces, and bark from trees. The artworks always told a story and were always a reflection of the land surrounding them. The Aboriginal tribes who lived near the ocean painted ocean creatures, fish, dolphins, whales, and so forth. River tribes painted inland animals and river creatures. It was very important that the Aboriginal people only painted what was allowed in their tribe. To paint these stories of dreaming, Aboriginal people would often use ochre. Ochre is a type of hard clay. It would be turned into powder by grating with a hard stone and mixing it with a liquid substance such as water, and it would form a nice consistency in which to paint. Let's have a look at some amazing contemporary Indigenous artists. Indigenous artists of today continue to produce artworks that have deep meaning and tell a story. However, they have integrated new and exciting techniques, materials, and methods into their art. The introduction of the use of acrylics has made painting for artists easier and given far more colour and variation. You don't have to mix them to make them stick to a board, artefact, or the cave wall. They are simpler to use. Having said that, many artists still stay with the traditional, original ochre method, whilst others use acrylics. It is purely a personal choice, but both mediums have their own charm and attraction. The use of acrylics on canvas has enabled artists to blend the ancient with the new, with artworks telling their ancestors' history in a contemporary style. Pretty cool. Aren't those artworks just amazing? But the inspiration for our artwork today comes from a mother-daughter duo by the names of Auntie Lauren and Melissa. They call themselves MIIMI and JIINDA. MIIMI means mother and JIINDA means sister, and together these women create incredibly beautiful artworks, and I think we should take a little look at them. So their artworks, as you can see, are so beautiful. But for our inspiration today, we're going to focus on this amazing artwork. The reason I chose this is because not only is it so beautiful, but it also has a really good story behind it. And I'm just going to read this from MIIMI and JIINDA. This artwork represents our connection to the source, to the dreaming, and to Mother Earth. Our core essence as humans and as souls living a human experience. It represents connection, unity, and love. And I just love that. So let's have a go. Let's get started on this artwork. The materials you will need for this artwork include a piece of paper. Now this was an A4 sheet that I've cut in half. I think it's called A5. And you're going to need a pencil, some watercolour paints, and obviously water and brush to go with that. Now I've said watercolour paints, but you can use acrylic paint. You will definitely need some white acrylic to do the dot work. Okay, but we're going to start with our paper and pencil. And the other thing you're going to need is just a round object that we can trace. You need 2 different sizes. So I'm using this cup, and I'm going to draw a circle in the middle. And now we're going to need a smaller size circle. So I'm going to use the base of this water spray bottle. And so we need to center it. And we're going to draw one below the big circle and one above. There we go. Okay, now the next step is to draw sort of a curved line through the small circle at the bottom and the large middle circle. And I'm going to use my finger to trace that out to start with. It's a good idea to use your finger to trace lines out before doing them. There we go. And I'm going to turn my paper around and do the same on the other end. Again, use your finger to trace it out, a curved line that passes through those 2 circles. There we go. Okay, now we're going to add a second curved line, and you can see me tracing it out there. So one on that side and one on that side, and you can see that it's following the curve of the first line. Spin it around, and let's do the same on this end. And that's it. That's all our guidelines drawn. Okay, now we're up to the second step, and that's to add some paint. I'm going to be using these watercolour paints only because I think that's probably the medium that you have sort of more readily available, but acrylic paints are good too. And I just want to demonstrate on this different watercolour palette the colours that we're going to use. So we're definitely going to have white. White is a bit of a sacred colour in Aboriginal art. And we're going to use black, and we're also going to use a brown earthy colour. So those 3 are definites. Now, you get to pick the other 3 colours, but they have to be sitting side by side in your palette or on the colour wheel. So you might choose green tones, blue tones, you might choose the warm colours, 3 colours that are sitting together on the palette or on a colour wheel. Okay, so once you've decided which 3 tones you're going to use, which 3 colours, we can start painting. Now I'm looking for the earthy tones on this palette, and I can see those soft browns there. And I'm thinking, do I want green or blue or purples, oranges, yellows? But I think I'm going to go with blue. Let's find out. All right, but I'm going to start by waking my water paints up by putting a little bit of water in them. And starting with those earthy tones, that sort of light brown colour. Okay, and I'm going to apply that brown paint to these 2 curved lines. And these are just guidelines. Your paint should be quite a bit thicker than the actual line itself. I'll speed this up a little bit. Okay, I'm also going to paint that top circle in this earthy brown colour. Okay, now I am going to use those blues, so I've got 5 shades of blue there to pick from, and I'm going to start with the darkest shade of blue, and I'll wake that up, add a bit of water, and as you can see, this middle circle is going to be the darkest shade of the colour that you pick. And let's go into turbo mode for this as well. Okay, now we need to find the lightest shade of your colour, and there's my light blue, and we're going to paint the small circle in that light shade. Now we're finding a shade that's in between the dark and the light, so the middle shade, and we're going to paint this whole section. Okay, now we're going to turn the page around and still using that middle shade, let's paint this section as well. Now it's time to add some black, so I'm going to wake my black up and make sure your black's not too watery. We do want a nice solid black effect. And so this little section in here is going to be black, and you'll be able to see which other parts are black as well. Just keep watching. It's looking good. Now we're going to paint a black circle around the edge of our main middle circle. So here we go. Okay, that's step 2 finished, and now we just wait for that to dry. If you've used watercolour paint, that shouldn't take too long at all. Now we're up to step 3, which is dot painting. And for this, we're going to use white acrylic paint. And we'll need a palette to put this on. This is a lid of an ice cream container that I'm using, but you can use anything. So put a good blob of white paint on there. I will show you what watercolour paint looks like. If you don't have acrylic, you can use this. So you're seeing that I'm using the end of my paintbrush. And it looks okay initially, but I think it will dry a little faint. The paint tends to soak into the paper. So I'm heading back over to my acrylic. And like I said, I'm going to use the end of my paintbrush. You could use your finger or a cotton bud, but I definitely like the effect that the end of the paintbrush gives. Now, when doing your dots, you need to try and space them out evenly. Not too far apart, but not touching either. This does take a bit of time, so you need to be patient and do your best. You'll also notice that I get about 3 dots before needing to reapply the paint. 1, 2, 3, and then reapply. That way the dots are all roughly the same size. Now that we've done that ring around the outside of the big circle, let's do some dots in the middle. So just 1 dot right in the middle, and then going around in a circle. And I'll speed this up a little bit. Okay, now we're going to do some dots down in that bottom circle. Your dots don't have to be exactly the same as mine. This is your artwork. The only thing that we really needed to have were those 3 big circles because we wanted to keep the meaning and the story behind the artwork. But the placement of these dots is truly up to you. But in saying that, you're welcome to follow me as well. Now I'm turning my artwork around to work down in this lower section, because when you're doing this dot painting, you need to be so careful not to accidentally put your hand in some wet paint. So turning your page is a really good idea to avoid that from happening. Okay, I'm showing you here how I did some watercolour dots just to test it out, but you can see that the colours have faded through onto the paper and they're just not that vibrant. So I'm going to pull out my blue acrylics and I'm going to go over the top of those initial dots because I really do want them to stand out a bit more. Okay, now you'll see that I'm adding white acrylic paint to those little side sections. We need to add that paint so it looks like a finished artwork. Okay, that wraps up our Indigenous artwork lesson. I hope you've really enjoyed doing it. I'll just show you my final product. Here's the blue one, which you saw me doing. And it was interesting to see that the watercolour dots just didn't really work as well as the acrylic, so definitely use acrylic if you can. And here's just another one that I played with, some pinks. And how beautiful would these be in a classroom all lined up together, all different colours? And a great project to do just leading up to Native Art Week. As always, if you do this artwork, please share it with me. You can either send it through a message on Instagram or Facebook, or do a post yourself and tag me in it. That'd be so good. And thanks for joining me. Hope to see you next time. Bye everyone.